Stand by for countdown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Amazing Race After Show. We are talking about episode 9, season 28. There are 6 teams left, and they are leaving the United Arab Emirates and heading to Indonesia, where we have 2 roadblocks, 1 speed bump, and a double U-turn coming up next episode. So you'll hear our predictions right now on AfterBuzz.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the after show for Amazing Race. Unfortunately,
No James today.
James is not here today, but we still have a great show to talk about, a great episode to talk about.
Yeah, a lot to cover. This was a good episode.
It was a good episode. They left the United Arab Emirates and they flew all the way to Indonesia. We see 2 roadblocks, so we might as well just dive right in. What were your overall thoughts?
I loved the episode. I've been kind of like, this whole season, and last episode was amazing. This episode was amazing. It was entertaining. I loved that they went to Indonesia. It was one of my favorite places to go on the race, so I was excited right away from the second it started.
I loved it. Yeah, so they all land, and we see that Ashley and Kurt,
They're the first. Brody and Kurt are the first to start.
But Ashley and Kurt, so Brody and Kurt, they used their express pass in the last episode, which we'll get into it a little bit later, but
there was a lot of foreshadowing there too, maybe like thinking that this leg that was going to come back to haunt them. So they start off in first because they won the last leg, and then Bernie and Ashley start off right behind them, and they're the only team that actually knows that Brody and Kurt used the express pass.
Right, because everyone else, like even Tyler, said that some people still think that they have the express
They're like,
pass.
they have to use it this leg, but Bernie and Ashley are right behind them, so they know what happened. They know that they already used it. They're right on their tails, and we hear in the beginning a couple times in the first few seconds about how they're so sick of being second and blah blah blah. So I'm like, I wonder what's gonna happen here.
Foreshadowing for sure. So, but they're all on the same flight,
of course.
So it's another equalizer, meaning that now Kurt and Brody, whatever, however far they did get ahead from using the express pass,
it doesn't even make a difference.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So they are literally probably like, oh my God, why did we use the express
why did we do that? Yeah. So they all end up on the same exact flight. And then, again, there was a little bit of foreshadowing with the roadblock situation, saying that Brody's going to have to, or he can't do it, and they messed up because they already used the express pass. So all of a sudden, everyone's all like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Right. And we got a little bit more about Rachel and Matt. They said that, this money, if they did win this money, would be great because they want to actually adopt internationally.
Right.
So, the fact that, I remember in the last episode, we were kind of talking about how we don't really know much about them.
Yeah, there was no story yet.
Right.
So when I heard that, I was like, okay, well, there's their story. They need this money because they want to adopt a baby.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe there was a little something that was going to happen and they were going to stick around.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. And then Sherry and Cole, she even, I just felt like she even said, is this all planned out? And then, the expression on her face was priceless when the camera, great editing. But and she was just happy that she didn't have to drive anymore.
Right. Of course. But they're still in it, so they've survived now. They've been saved on 2 non-elimination legs, which in previous seasons you kind of know that once that happens, you're totally out of lives, and you usually end up going home the leg that you have to do the speed bump in. So I was like, this is going to be their last leg. But we'll talk about what happens.
But when they boarded that flight, people are like, Sherry and Cole got saved twice. You could tell people were like,
people got annoyed by it. It's not cool.
Yeah, definitely. So they all land, they all get in his car, and unlike James, I'm not as well prepared. But anyway, so they stop. Anyways, they get to Indonesia.
They go to Bali. And again, even they all arrive at the same time, but they have to, in order to get their clue or their route info for the next morning, again, they have to wait. So it's wait until morning to get your next clue, and it's 2 teams at a time. So whoever got there first and second, they're at 6 a.m. Whoever gets their third and fourth, they're at 6:15. So another kind of equalizer right away, separating them into like these 15-minute slots. And they have to, I guess, go and get these offerings, pick them up, and deliver them to then get their clue.
Right. So Sherry and Cole with Brody and Kurt were the first two. And then Ashley and Brody, Tyler and Corey, Zach, Rachel, and Matt and Dana.
Right.
So those were the orders. I just loved how Ashley, they were wearing those light headbands. Like, I was like, why are you guys wearing these light headbands? Is it really that dark out? No one else was wearing
And nothing
them.
was going on. Like, there was no reason for it.
Like, in the taxi, they were wearing them.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
The thing I thought was funny about this is when they get the offerings, they're told they have to deliver it to like a specific temple.
Yeah.
And again, here's another example of just overthinking what you have to do. Like, this totally brought me back to when Tim and I were in Abu Dhabi and we had to like walk 10 feet to our U-turn board, and we ran for miles around looking for something because we thought there was more to it than that. So the first two teams that got there, they're like running up hills, they're down on the beach, and they ended up losing that 15 minutes because where they had to bring the offerings was literally right there. Yeah.
So, and we see that especially Kurt and Brody, they walked far, and those things looked heavy. Like, I was curious to know how much those offerings actually weigh on your head.
And the fact that like you had to keep it on your head, of course, like add that silly little detail in there.
So funny. And so that was a disadvantage for the people who were in the front because everyone else just kind of followed them.
Right. So now your lead's gone. Again, everyone is back in the same exact spot with like no time between them.
Right. So they deliver the offering, and then they get this snake, and they have to wrap this snake around their neck. I don't know what would like.
I mean, this sounds better to me than eating a snake, is what happened to me when I was in Indonesia. But still, this is like scary. And I was thinking to myself, are these snakes like, have they been like defanged or something? Like, how is this safe?
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, okay, like what if the snake right,
like, because that's not even the main issue. The teeth. It's like if they're constrictors. Like, I don't know.
I would have been freaking. The person who I thought was freaking out the most was, I mean, there was a few, but like Sherry, she was like, oh man,
she's like, I'm not worried about a snake.
Scared of snakes.
Yeah.
I would have been freaking like, oh my God,
I'm surprised nobody cried. Like, no, I mean, they all
literally,
kind of like handled
the head,
it
like out here.
Well, some of them were holding the head, like so that you could see where it is and what's going on, and other people like didn't hold the head at all. And like I think it was Tyler, he was like, it's in my armpit. Like the snakes were just going all over the place. I would have lost it.
I would have absolutely lost it. But I mean, they managed pretty well. So Tyler and Corey, I just loved what
Tyler referenced Britney.
Tyler,
I was like, yes.
I'm totally serving. I'm a slave for you. Realness.
Yes.
Britney Spears meets Bali. I swear his one-liners are the best. And then I said Sherry was just total girl boss with her snake. She just no fear in that girl. And then I loved when Rachel and Matt dropped off the snake. He literally went to the puddle and was like splashing water on
Rachel
him.
and Zach,
Or Rachel and Zach, and I thought that was hilarious. And then Matt and Dana, she was like, hold the head.
Yeah, she was like instructing him on what to do. Like she was like, you will die if you don't do it the way you're supposed to do it. And I was like, she's so mean.
Oh my God, this was hilarious.
And then this is the same point where after this, Sherry and Cole find out that they have to do their speed bump before they get to the roadblock.
Yes.
Which was interesting. They kind of, I thought the bats were going to be more involved because they said that they had to go to this bat cave first, and then that's where the sandwich thing was or whatever. And I love bats, so I was like, oh my God, they're going to have to go to bat cave. Like we're going to see all these little bats everywhere. And then like we never heard of the bats again. So I was like,
so stupid.
Okay, like why did you tell us about the bats?
The bats would have been more exciting than the freaking breakfast thing.
Right. Like that was kind of like, I get that it's something that has to just like kill a little bit of time. But in other seasons, they had to swim different places, and some teams were scared of like the water or couldn't swim or whatever, and it was more of a dramatic moment. But for this, it was like walk over to the cart, put this food together, and then they had to sell a certain amount, and it was like there were people just sitting right around who were like, sure, I'll buy it. And I'm like, come on. Like,
so easy. And then when they finally sold, they had to sell like a certain amount, right?
A certain amount of money,
And then
eat
them.
Ugh, I would no.
Oh, she was like, I don't know what kind of meat. So it was a soup, and they put a lot of hot, like chili, like hot sauce
noodles,
in it,
and then these
meatballs,
which We don't know what they
Sherry
are.
was just making it sound like she was like, I have no idea what
Cole
kind of
thought they
meat
were
this is.
testicles, like,
Oh.
which is what I would have freaked out about. I would have not eaten any of the meatballs.
I would have, given them to my partner.
Yeah, like you're doing it.
I'll deal with the hotness. You're
Right.
eating that meatball, whatever the heck that is.
Yeah, and even Cole said, he was like, it's like 100 degrees out. We have to eat this hot, spicy meal
Yeah.
right now with these weird, unidentified balls. Like, I don't know. For me, eating something like that would have been a more difficult task than like doing something strenuous. So
too.
even though this seems easy, it sucks.
Yeah. Oh, and just like thought of putting something in your body that you don't know what
Right,
it is.
and then you
in
have to
this-
go like run around.
Yeah.
No.
No, thank
No
you.
thanks.
But of course, knowing Sherry, she did it like a true champ with Cole. You could tell it was very hot though. They were literally guzzling that water
Yeah.
after like burning. I couldn't even
And
imagine.
Cole was like embarrassed too because it was hot and he started freaking out. He's like, I hope my future girlfriend doesn't see this. He's so
funny.
cute, though.
He is adorable. So they accomplish their speed block, then they get to the roadblock. And this is where on the way to the roadblock, we learn a little bit more about Kurt, which I personally didn't know.
Right.
We learned that he had cancer, colon cancer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, colon cancer, and he is now is cancer free for 7 years.
Right.
So that is amazing. We learned a little bit more, but he can do no more roadblocks.
Right, he's done.
He's done. So he did that, and
I was actually, when we got that story, I was like, this makes me feel like they're going to stick around longer. Like, you don't just tell us that someone survived cancer and then they get eliminated.
Right.
Like, now there's a story. Now the person that survived cancer has to win the race. Like,
Yeah.
that's what went through my head.
me too.
But,
And the fact that they kept it this long
right.
from us,
and then
it's
just
like-
brought it out now,
Yeah.
there's like more that's going to develop here.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows? Or, so I don't know. But that was kind of cool. So Kurt decided to do this one. And then Bernie, Tyler, Rachel, and Cole. And as you can see out of those names, Rachel was the only girl. And it was a very difficult.
Yeah, like it looked like
Roadblock.
it was basically
They had to gather.
Heavy.
Yeah, they had to gather water out of the ocean, carry it up. It was kind of like uphill a little bit.
yeah. But just walking on the sand is
sand
what makes it
alone.
more difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they had to sprinkle it into this little square to cover up all of the area.
Yeah.
And you could tell, I mean, even the guys looked like they were struggling.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Rachel was the only girl to do it, she had a disadvantage.
Yeah. I don't know. When I first looked at it,
Maybe not for you, but
well, I started thinking, I was like, this kind of looks easy. Not easy in the sense that like it's not physically hard, but like put the water in the buckets, dump the water around till they say you're done, scoop salt, leave. Like
Right.
there wasn't a lot of thinking involved in this. There wasn't anything that you had to like figure out or build or whatever. So
Right.
for me, I'm like, okay, this is just a physical task. Like if you're in good shape, you can lift up heavy things, you're gonna like blow through this because there's not much to it.
Yeah.
But again, she's not gonna be able to carry as much as the rest of those guys, so like automatically she's gonna have to take more trips. And you could see when she was going back and forth that she was starting off with like half the amount of water in it, and by the time she got up to where she was supposed to be, she had spilled another
Yeah.
half of it. So this was like difficult to watch. I felt bad.
I felt so horrible for her, and especially because, I mean, if there was one other girl, then they probably would have toughed it out together, just
Yeah.
mentally. But the fact that she was the only girl, she was like probably just down upon
Yeah.
herself, like, oh, I already have the disadvantage.
Yeah.
And so,
But like, good for her that she didn't just give up.
Right.
Because I think a lot of girls would have been like, seriously, like I know I'm gonna do the worst at this. Like
Let's
I
just
might
take
as
a
well.
penalty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was good to see. I was like proud of her being a girl and sticking it out and not saying any of the obvious, like, oh, I'm not as strong as everyone, or I'm a girl, or this and that. Like, she just shut up and she did it, and that was cool.
And I was just thinking, I mean, just like you said, she shut up. She honestly didn't even complain.
Yeah,
that
she didn't
much.
complain once. She really didn't.
I mean, could you imagine if Dana did this one?
I know.
Like the whole time. So when she got there, the last two teams, Cole and Sherry and Matt and Dana were the last two.
Yeah.
Matt ended up doing it. And then when it got to Sherry and Cole, I was like, oh my gosh. If Cole did this one, he could totally get to the head.
Like, we knew it. And then when he picked it, I was like, Cole's going to crush this.
Yeah.
They're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But like you said, if it was Dana and Matt, I think Dana would have complained the whole time, but I think she would have been better at this than any of the other girls. Like,
Yeah.
I can see her just like crushing this.
Right.
But she would have let us know that she was not happy.
Yeah, it was really funny. So they were shaking, and then after they got the thumbs up that they covered enough water on the surface, they then had to go scrape salt and fill 4 bags of salt. And this is where, oh my gosh, the guys, not only did they have to just fill the salt, but then they had to tie the bags, and that's actually where the guys had the most problems.
Yeah,
That was,
because
like,
they couldn't tie the little knots.
Right. And they were blaming their fingers, like, okay, whatever.
I was
Although
like, you're
tying-
scooping salt. Shut up. This is so easy.
And Cole's like, oh, maybe a pro at this. I used to scoop ice cream.
So cute.
He's so cute. His muscles, I was like,
Right? See?
This episode, though, I have to say, Cole looked extra hot.
I know. And he's like 12 years old and he's putting everyone else to shame. His arms are amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cole. I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it.
Keep doing it, buddy. And then actually we see Kurt. He got a little frantic. He went to go get his salt bags checked, and he actually dropped a salt bag.
Yeah.
So I didn't really understand what happened after that. I don't know if he skipped up or picked up.
I think he just had to go and make another one.
Yeah.
I mean, which isn't really that big of a deal. Like, you drop it, it's not tied right, whatever. You're right there, you do it again.
Right.
Like, I can't see this taking
too long, but
that
they made it a
long.
big deal. So I was like,
Right.
did they have to like pick up the salt off the ground and like save the salt?
Yeah, I don't know. This part of the roadblock was super easy.
Yeah.
But which is fine. I get it, because the other part of it was really strenuous, and this was just like a little detail, but it wasn't. I mean, they could have showed it for 10 seconds and moved on.
But it was interesting because based on the editing, they almost made it seem like this was where Rachel kind of picked up some slack.
Yeah.
Like she kind of caught up a little bit because she could tie the bags.
Yeah, because other people had a hard time with it. I actually thought that she was going to pass some of them,
Yeah.
but then it didn't happen.
Right. And Tyler especially, Tyler said, what did he say? He's like, if I ever go to, mental health issue or like mental health.
Cole said that.
Oh, Cole said it.
He
Yeah,
was like, I've never been in a mental institution for going crazy, but it would be for
tying
the bags. Yeah, so cute.
So funny.
And then, Tyler was talking about how he wanted
Margaritas.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I would too. If I was mixing with some salt, I would want it around my rim.
Yeah.
A little toast. All right. And then we get to so then they get back in the car.
Right.
And they go to the next, and they find out that it's another roadblock.
Right. So, but at this point, the order has changed because now Bernie and Ashley are finally in first.
Right.
So
Because
they're
Kurt had a
super
little bit of
excited.
issue.
Kurt had a little setback. So we have Bernie and Ashley in front. And because of all the foreshadowing in the beginning with them complaining about second, I was like, oh, they're going to win this leg finally. But it was still close. I think Tyler and Corey were right behind them, right? And then Kurt and Brody ended up being third to leave that roadblock.
Right.
And then Sherry and Cole, Matt and Dana, and then Rachel and Zach ended up last.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they get here, and whoever did the first roadblock had to sit out for the next one, so the other member could do it.
Right.
So now we see. So now we have who did this one? We have.
Well, they had to switch. So whoever didn't do the other one,
Ashley did this one. Obviously,
now had to do this side, right?
Corey, Brody, and Brody. He was kind of hesitant. He did not want to do this one. I felt like.
You know what? That kind of got me because they show up and he immediately panics, which he did at the last roadblock too. And I was like, just chill. Like, he got there and he was like, what are we supposed to do? I can't do this. I can't believe I have to do this. They're not telling us whatever. And I'm like, dude, just slow down. Like, you're your own worst enemy right now.
Right.
Because you're making this such a big deal that they're not going to give you an impossible task. If everyone else is doing it, you can surely do it.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath.
Honestly, this is the first time that I was like, you know what, Brody? Put your head in the game. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. And I mean, Ashley was like, I kind of took it as a compliment because he was literally just watching me make my kite and copying everything I was doing.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but he was so scared to get behind that he wasn't just putting his head down and focusing.
I think it panics them a little bit because you're not expecting that. You're not expecting there to be another roadblock right away and that, you think, okay, my partner did the roadblock for this leg.
Yeah.
We're good, we're gonna hit the detour, whatever, and then you get there and it's you have to do something. And
on your own.
Maybe something that you wouldn't have done if you had the choice. And I mean, that happened in our season a few times. I showed up at a roadblock and I had to do it, and it is something that Tim would have hands down done had we had the choice.
Right.
So you kind of are just like, oh my God, this is it, it's over. This is not gonna work, this is not how this is supposed to happen. And it gets in your head a little bit, and I think that's what happened with Brody. But no excuse, just suck it up. Have like your moment of panic and then go look at the model and do what you need to do.
Right. I just feel like he pressures, like knowing that it's all on his shoulders now. I feel like he's not good at that. Like
No.
he needs to just get out of his head and just buckle down and do it, which was kind of weird. But I don't know. What did you think of this roadblock?
I hated it because I hate building things. I hate looking at the model. Like, this literally gave me nightmares. It was like flashback to when I had to build that stupid robot and like I had no idea what I was doing. And it's just like because you don't understand. You're like, what do you mean? How are we supposed to do it? You don't stop and think like, okay, like maybe the model has numbers on it. This is like, it takes a little while to kind of digest what you're supposed to be doing. So a lot of them were just running around like sticking things in places and like, oh, this looks like that. Let me try this. But that's not how it is. You have to kind of like slow down, read your clue, look at what's supposed to happen. So I would have hated to do this, like 100%. It would have just got to me. I don't like stuff like this at all.
Me neither. I'm not good at building anything.
Yeah, but they thought it was cool because, you know, they built something and then they got to fly it.
Right.
And like the kite itself was really pretty and like, you know, they had got the experience of doing it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's okay. But otherwise, I didn't like it.
Right. Well, if I had a partner, I would definitely want him to be doing this one.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
At the same time, it was cool. I mean, it was boring to watch when they were making it and tying it and doing this. But after when they actually flew it, it was a cool kite. Like, it was cool to watch.
You know what? They didn't show us anybody really messing anything up except for just a couple of the little knots tying. Yeah, like I wanted to see someone go and like they did something wrong, so their kite crashed into the ground. They had to start over. Like, nobody messed up really bad.
I know. I wish that I would have seen like the top of the thing fly off or something.
Yeah, where were the mess ups here?
Yeah. So, and then that was where, you know, we see Bailey, mainly just see Brody kind of fall apart. That was about it.
Yeah, and I was like over him this leg, like when I was just watching how he was. But then I think about it, like we haven't seen him like this before, but he hasn't been in this position before except for starting the last two legs.
Yeah,
because like Kurt's done everything, and now that Brody has to do things, it's kind of like panic all the time and complain all the time, and I'm never going to be able to. What do you mean you're never going to be able to do this? Like, you're on the race, like everyone else is doing it.
You can do it.
Right. So I was kind of like, what is that about?
Right.
And I stopped. Not that I really liked them to begin with, but like now I really don't like them.
Right. So they fly their kite. It has this huge long tail, really cool. They get back in the car and they are now heading to the pit stop, where they had to get into a kayak and actually kayak out onto a ship.
Right.
So this was kind of cool, and you see, you know, Phil on this little boat. It was so funny. They're like, so Tyler and Corey actually get there first.
Right.
And then Brody and Kurt.
Bernie and Ashley.
Bernie and Ashley.
Yeah. So again, it's like really close. Like we don't really know how close, but we're watching it thinking, oh my God, here we go. Bernie and Ashley are in second again. Like, are they going to catch up? Are they going to get the first place? And no.
No. So Tyler and Corey get there first, and then, let me see.
We also didn't know while this was going on and these two teams are racing for first, we're still seeing what's going on back at the roadblock, and we don't know if Brody is going to just like ruin it and come in last, or if Zach is going to catch up, because he says that like he loves building things and putting things together and flying and whatnot. So he is going to be really good at this, and Brody's complaining that he's going to be really bad at this, and they're both in last kind of going at the same time. And then you have Sherry, who finishes before them, who totally was like amazing at it. And like I think she would be too, because I could see her being crafty.
Yeah, she's
like,
definitely a mom, like a stay-at-home
like she's
mom,
used to like doing crafts and stuff, and she was like, I like to build things. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you're a terrible mechanic, but like maybe this is a little bit different.
Right. I could see her being crafty, and she loves to clean. So
and she has a lot of patience too. Like she went up there and she looked at the model. She was the only person who realized right away that like these are numbered and this number goes here and this and that. So like maybe she's good at like building crafts or like doing puzzles or whatever, but she was like the only person who didn't freak out, and like she did it almost the quickest out of everybody because she got there in the middle and was done. Like they were the third ones out of there, I think. Yeah. So they're kind of spread out. Again, Bernie and Ashley, Tyler and Corey are racing to the pit stop, and we don't know what's going to happen between Zach and Brody. And when they finally get there, I was like, basically Ashley and Bernie were like, another second place. Oh my God, we just can't stop coming in second. And I was like, Jason and Amy, is this team gonna win the whole race? Like
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, oh my God, this is like total replay in my mind right now.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I hope like they win the next leg or something, because I do like them, but I don't want them to win the whole thing.
No.
Like if that's what happens, I'll be like,
yeah, I don't know.
But Tyler and Corey, they win. They get $5,000.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They were cool. So Tyler and Corey get first. Ashley and Brody come in for their 4th second in a row.
Yeah.
Oh God, I couldn't even imagine. Sherry and Cole come in 3rd. Matt and Dana 4th. Brody and Kurt come in 5th, which is surprising. And then 6th is Rachel and Zach, and they do get eliminated.
Yeah.
But they take their last leap off the boat, and then they kiss in the air and kiss in the water.
But we kind of saw this coming. I mean, we did say that they're going to be the next to go because there's not much going on there. We got that little tidbit in the beginning about wanting to adopt, but I don't think that was really enough to...
No, it wasn't enough. And I think that the reason why they did throw that little soundbite in the beginning is so that they kind of left, we know a little bit more before they actually left the show.
And it made us wonder, like, what's going to happen.
What's going to happen? Kind of keep us hanging, like we want to keep in touch with them now.
I was surprised, though, that there wasn't more from Matt and Dana this episode. Like, we've been seeing their edit kind of build where, like, all they do is fight, and she's really annoying, and everybody hates Dana, and, like, what's gonna happen? And then it was almost like they weren't even in this leg at all.
She was, like, complimenting. She was like, come on, babe, good job.
So I don't know if she didn't give them anything to work with on this leg, but I was surprised that there wasn't more of that, because if the theory that we have about them being that ratings couple that are going to go to the final 3 is right, we should have seen a little more drama during this episode.
Maybe they're trying to tone it down. Maybe they don't last
Maybe
that
they
much
know
longer.
that that's the second place edit, and they were like, no.
But it seems like every episode there's always like that one complainer, and I think that episode 9 definitely went to Brody.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
So so we know that coming up there is a double U-turn in the next episode. Who do you think that people are gonna, like, who?
I would hope that, I think that when the leg starts out, that Tyler and Corey they're starting in first, like they'll probably hang out onto their lead, and I feel like they'll have a chance to U-turn.
Right.
But I feel like they won't do it. Just because they're like, oh, we're in first anyway, you know, we don't want to do anything mean, we don't have to do, like, I could just see them saying that, which is a mistake. Like, you should just always U-turn.
Especially
like,
at this point.
Right. So I don't know. I feel like that's going to be like a little bit of a letdown if that happens for me. But I'm hoping that someone U-turns Brody and Kurt.
I hope so too. I mean, out of all the teams, they're the team that should be U-turned.
Right. Like, they deserve it, and they're the team that is a threat. You know, because if they're on their game, like, they're the strongest team.
And the whole time when Brody was doing that roadblock, I was like, oh my God, he is probably praying he still had that express pass.
I know. But you know what? Another thing is they're starting in last this leg. So any other team, the smart thing to do is U-turn the team that's in last. There's no coming back from that. Like, do you want to end up in the final 3 with Kurt and Brody? No.
I think that it was actually last season the green team, and he says you only U-turn someone if you know they're going to go home.
Yeah.
And so because they are starting in last, they are the smart team to U-turn because they could.
It's like double smart here.
Right.
Like, you... like, if a team's in last, you know they're going to go home if you U-turn them. So that's just like a given anyway. If the strongest team is in last and you can get rid of them, that's
then
like double reason to do this.
So I hope that someone, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Brody and Kurt, but for the game, for the competition, someone needs to U-turn Brody and Kurt. So Tyler and Corey, you don't think they're going to U-turn anyone?
I don't think so. I mean, I wish that they would, but, you know, even Bernie and Ashley, if they get there, they might do something like, they could U-turn Sherry and Cole. Because, like, that's kind of like me and Tim U-turning the bunnies.
Right.
It was just like, you guys, you had 2 chances. You're on your last. Like, get out of the race.
Yeah.
Just go home. And, like, you know when you
Your
U-turn.
safety cards are gone.
Right. But you know when you U-turn a team like that, that's not necessarily, like, one of the stronger teams. Like, you know, it's kind of for sure that they're going home. And even if they don't end up going home for some reason, they're still not a threat.
Right.
So I could see Bernie and Ashley maybe doing that. There's no way in hell Tyler and Corey would U-turn Sherry and Cole ever.
No, never.
But it's smart. Somebody better do something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would be shocked though if Brody and Kurt ended up going home right after they dropped that cancer. You know.
I know, but then they already told us about Zach and Rachel's baby, and then they went home. So maybe it's similar there. Yeah.
Huh. That would be interesting. Sherry and Cole, I don't think they'll. Well, they might U-turn Brody and Kurt.
I mean, they should. If Sherry and Cole get to that U-turn board before anybody, they have to U-turn them. And you know what? I think Sherry would even do it.
Yeah.
Like, you think she's so sweet, but she's gonna be like, no, Cole, like, we need to do this. It's the only way we can survive.
She's a sweetheart, but she's in it to win.
She's smart. Yeah. So I think if there's anybody behind them, they 100% have to do it. Somebody is getting U-turned here. Because this isn't. What I do like about this cast is in previous seasons, we've seen them kind of make alliances and friends, and you're on a train going to the next place and you're like, so guys, who are you going to U-turn? Who are we not going to U-turn? Oh, don't this, don't that. These teams aren't even talking to each other.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's sharing what their, plan is or what they are going to do or not going to do or making an alliance.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of like
on their
for
own.
themselves.
Yeah.
And I love that.
You do? See, sometimes I like alliances and like enemies, like they're all against one team.
Well, that would be cool, yeah. But I just don't like when they make friends and they're like, okay, well, we're not going to U-turn you. Remember, you're not going to U-turn us. And then they get to the board and they're like, we're going to keep our word because we told, like, shut up, get off the race, and you deserve to be U-turned.
I love it when the people are like, no, we would never U-turn you. And then literally they're like, they get to the board and they're like, bam, U-turned.
Yeah, like that needs to happen. If you can make alliances if it's a lie, of course.
Right.
But that's what I like about this cast. There's none of that, like, fakeness or friendships that are like nobody's thinking of anybody else ahead of the fact that they want to win the race.
Right.
Which is so smart, and I love that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So I'm excited for next episode. I'm excited to see who gets U-turned and who do you think is going to go home?
Hopefully Brody and Kurt. Unfortunately, maybe Sherry and Cole, if somebody gets into a situation where they're like, if nobody has the option to U-turn Brody and Kurt, then they're going to get rid of Sherry and Cole just to do it. But I'm really fingers crossed for Brody and Kurt.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I do like them, but I think I'm kind of hoping to see Brody and Kurt get U-turned and have them go home.
Yeah. Totally.
I think they've had their
Whose team are they on? Are they on your team for fantasy?
No, they're on
James's team?
James.
Oh, then we totally want them to go home.
Because James right now has all 3 of his teams.
Literally 166 points in the fantasy.
He has like 100 more than us.
Literally, I have 67 and Jess has 62. Thanks to Allie for tallying our points.
Yes, thank you. How many viewers do we have in our chat?
I don't know how to see how many people are in it, but they're here and they're talking. Guys, I can see you in the chat. I think there's 42, which is awesome.
That's a lot. You guys, thank you so much for watching us and chatting in the chat. I didn't bring my laptop, but
I'm trying to keep an eye on it. I know we're kind of like a little behind here without James, but make sure you guys hit that thumbs up.
Yes, give us a thumbs up, and we will see you all next episode. James will be here, and we're excited to talk more about Amazing Race.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.